Yeah, I don't know, man. You ever just feel like life is just catapulting towards some greater purpose?
Pampered fat cats with bloated ego. We are the only DJ crazy enough to tattoo Jackie Brown on his ass.
This is Michael Mann, and I ride with
Extended Clip.
Welcome to Extended Clip. It is episode 471, and I'm one of your hosts, Eddie Averill.
I'm Malcolm Baum.
I'm JT White.
And today we are kicking off a little mini-series going through the middle of January. We are going to be talking about the films of my favorite movie star of the 1990s, Matt Dillon. And is movie star the right word? Because a couple of these movies, he's like more of a character role, you know? So I would say he's my favorite actor of the 1990s.
Thespian, you know?
Yes. Oh, and is he a thespian? I could just imagine so many of his characters reacting with disgust to that. So we're talking about To Die For by Gus Van Sant, and I also wanted to talk about this because Gus Van Sant's been on my mind lately. Mm-hmm. He has a new movie out right now, Dead Man's Wire, I believe it's called. It technically got released in 2 theaters in December. It's a 26 movie, though, in my opinion. It's like nobody got to see it until
it's getting
this year.
A wider release this January, I believe.
Yeah. Well, it is January.
Yeah.
And so with that, there's some Gus Van Sant marathons going on right now, or retrospectives, rather. I recently saw Even Cowgirls Get the Blues at Brain Dead, and I was like, I got to get back into the Gus Van Sant world, you know? Yeah. So this was the perfect time to do it. We've already done his prior Matt Dillon collab in Drugstore Cowboy about a year ago, and so now it's time for his erotic thriller, and really more of just a dark comedy, To Die For, from 1995. Malcolm?
Yes.
Had you seen this one before?
Yes, I saw this, I feel like 10 years ago at this point. Just a big fan of 90s erotic thrillers.
Of course.
Gus Van
Bring them
Sant.
back.
Bring them back.
Why won't the studios make 90s erotic thrillers anymore?
We need to start ringing that bell again, from 4 years ago.
Yeah.
We need to start looking at things where people were doing 5 years ago. Just bring them back.
Time is cyclical, baby.
Exactly. But I'm a big fan of the big 3 actors in this movie: Nicole Kidman, Joaquin Phoenix, Matt Dillon, as we've mentioned. And I remember enjoying it, but it was one of those movies where I kind of, I feel like I kind of just remember Nicole Kidman in that yellow outfit, you know, which I didn't really remember too much about the movie. And rewatching it, I'm like, this is a real deal media satire movie.
I think that's what it is above all else.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're really reading it as an erotic thriller, it's kind of dog shit. JT, how'd you feel about this one?
I really, really liked it. I was one of those things where, the act of watching it, I had the experience of being like, why don't I love this? Because there's so many parts of it that I think are right up my alley. The TV brain kind of satire about the Nicole Kidman character in general was really fun and funny and cool. The Matt Dillon of everything is wonderful. It's stylistically playful the way a lot of the best Gus Van Sant is. And I think just the general tone, I was like, why am I not fucking with this harder? I really liked it, but I don't know, one thing or another, I think in part because of the way the story is told at times, some of the fake documentary stuff and direct address doesn't necessarily go all the way for me, but it's not a major knock. It's just something that I felt was designed to be right up my alley and that I would love. I was a little disappointed that I was not completely blown over by it. But that said, it was still really fun and impressive. And I'm curious if I watch it a few years later, if I might feel a little bit differently.
Yeah, I kind of feel the same way, JT, where I kind of held it at a distance the whole time, despite really loving the cast. I mean, this is one of the best casts of this era, really. Not just the big 3 that you mentioned, but, guys like Dan Hedaya as the dad of Nicole Kidman is fantastic, and Casey Affleck is fucking awesome. And, you have Alison Folland as Lydia, and sharing a credit in the opening credits are two 90s sitcom gods, Kurtwood Smith and Wayne Knight.
Yeah. Elena Douglas as well as
yes, Ileana
Matt
Douglas
Dillon's
is fantastic
sister.
in this.
We got Red from That 70s
well, that's
Show.
who I just mentioned,
Oh, yeah.
Kurtwood Smith.
Yeah.
Ileana Douglas might give the best performance in this movie, in my opinion, in terms of and maybe that just might be in terms of what I wanted out of it, though. And that might be the flaws with the film, or just my kind of friction that I had with it was there's a bit of tonal inconsistency, and I think it's in the stylistic approach and the framing device and everything, where we are, as it turns out at the end, watching Nicole Kidman's documentary, kind of.
Yeah.
But you can't be. That doesn't make any fucking sense when you think about a lot of the footage. Especially the Ileana Douglas stuff being in hindsight at the ice rink after.
Yeah.
And so maybe it's actually we're watching, someone else's movie that incorporates the footage that was found that Nicole Kidman had,
Yeah.
But that wouldn't make any sense either, because she's underwater with all of her belongings.
This might have been a Dateline episode or something in the reality of the movie or
but
something like that.
That's the thing. You can't CinemaSins logicize this movie because it is an erotic thriller.
You can't criticize anything erotic because that would be kind of rude, But
I mean, then the Danny Elfman score puts me at odds with it too. I don't know why it's that classic Danny Elfman Batman haunted house theme. I don't really get that. I get the contrast with the heavy metal cues or whatever, which are, Danny Elfman doing heavy metal, whatever. It's fine. It's funny. But outside of that contrast, I don't really think that the classic Elfmanian music really does this any favors in terms of the tonal confusion that I had throughout.
I feel like sometimes the Kidman character can kind of embody the zaniness that an Elfman score entails, and definitely at points I think her character goes is completely batshit in a really fun goofy way that it does feel with the tonal inconsistencies of what you're talking about, Eddie. I at certain points I wish it would lean more in honestly either direction. I think that either go a little bit goofier or tone it down a little bit, because it's just I do getting into the psychology of the Kidman character. Some of the best stuff is when she initially starts working for Wayne Knight and is just presenting him with files upon files of this is my TV show, to a complete loser nobody just being this is my TV show kind of thing. Just how single-minded and just focused she is on a goal is very funny, and I feel those bits definitely align more with the weird kind of goofy silly parts of the movie.
I think it's funny you mentioned Wayne Knight there also, as far as not choosing a lane tonally. It's very clear that that's a reference to Basic Instinct, his casting.
Oh.
She's Miss
Yeah,
Stone,
yeah.
and there's scenes of her crossing her legs.
I didn't even think of that, but yeah.
It is lambasting these erotic thrillers that were so popular a couple years before this, with a camp quality to it. And it's undeniable that it's a camp quality.
Mm-hmm.
But that's the thing with Gus Van Sant is he's not really an ironist, I would say. And so that's why I'm a little off put by this, because clearly it's a film attacking the belief system of Nicole Kidman's character, right? And it's attacking her because America produces people like this.
Yes.
It's a cultural critique, and I think the cultural critique totally holds weight. It's written by fucking
Buck Henry, who's also in the movie as the teacher.
yes. And he's funny, him beating up Casey Affleck's funny. Good teacher abuse scene.
Yeah. He kind of steals the show for me in those scenes. He's really funny.
And yeah, so it's I love the ideas of this movie. I actually do think that it is a pretty I read a Letterboxd review, I'm blanking on who it was, that said it should have been done like 10 years earlier, and it feels out of time in that sense. And I agree, but I kind of like that too. It feels like you're looking back on the last 10 years almost, because the production design and the outfits and everything are very 80s.
Yeah. I'm in agreement with you too, in that, I like this movie. I don't love it, and I feel like there's some flaws. I think, it is just a little overwrought at certain times in the where you're like, I get, the Star Spangled Banner playing. It's like, I get what's going on here. I pick up what you're putting down.
She only needs to say the line,
"You're not anybody in America unless you're on TV,"
3 times.
You know? And I think the formal quality of it, where where the movie kind of starts out, it's kind of like a true crime documentary where, we know, it seems like we know that the Matt Dillon character gets killed somehow, and the Nicole Kidman character is involved, and we're introduced to the Joaquin Phoenix character getting interviewed in the jail cell, and kind of starts with the was I saying her name wrong? Elena Douglas?
You said Elena. It's Ileana.
Ileana Douglas. Ileana Douglas's character. We're kind of getting the first impression of the Nicole Kidman character through her, and there's just kind of a push and pull to the story quality that I feel like, I kind of agree whether, maybe I would have enjoyed it more if it went all in on that. But I still think there's a good amount to enjoy here. And once we kind of get to the nitty gritty of the movie with the 3 teens, that's kind of the aspect of the movie I say I would enjoy the most.
Yeah.
And in addition to Kidman's performance, because she's really good in it.
Well, Gus Van Sant shows so much more mercy to those kids. You know? Like Casey Affleck is a dumbass, like he has some hilarious moments of dumbassery, but they're still like slightly empathetic. Like I feel like Gus Van Sant really cares about young troubled kids. Obviously Drugstore Cowboy, my own Private Idaho, like that is something he really did care about. And so I think that it does further the tonal inconsistency, but it also gives me something to latch onto. And I agree, Malcolm, it is the best parts. Like the scene where Joaquin is dancing and Lydia doesn't know how to dance, and she's clearly very attracted to Nicole Kidman as well.
Yeah.
And then she gets cucked and gets forced to take the dog walk. And then the scene of like right after, she's like peeping on Nicole Kidman and Joaquin fucking. And I found that stuff to be like moving. Like the Lydia character is easily the most empathetic, and that's why she gets the happy ending,
Yeah, I think the 3 teenage characters, they kind of exemplify, kind of people's relationship to like celebrities in media, where like the Casey Affleck, it's kind of more of just like a line here or there, but like, he kind of sees the Nicole Kidman character. It's like, oh, that's like the upper class of America. Yeah. Like she's, rich, and like, I can't really relate to that. And, the teenage girl character, she's kind of, there's kind of like, in addition to there being an attraction, there's kind of like, there's a lot of mentions of her kind of feeling insecure about her weight, and like Nicole Kidman's so, beautiful in this movie in a very like classical way that, there's kind of like a little bit of like the insecurity of like having to live up to the totem of like a celebrity. And then, then you got the Joaquin Phoenix character, just kind of the classic, this lady's really hot, I'm really, you kind of get like, obsessed a little bit. That's another relationship people have. Like this is a woman I see on my TV every day. Like I almost feel close to her in a sense.
And it's also very clear that Joaquin had it from day one. Like, yeah, I think this is the earliest I've seen him. And it took me a while to realize that Joaquin really is like an old school movie star. People don't think about that. Like when they think of contemporary actors who are of the classic Hollywood mold, where their unique charisma and face is all they need, and they can basically play a variant of themselves every time. You think of Tom Cruise, you think of George Clooney. That's basically it,
Jake Kelly.
Maybe Brad Pitt. Well, obviously Jake Kelly. Yeah. But the thing is, Jake Kelly retired, so he wants to spend more time with his family. He wants another take. Pay attention to the end.
I respect that, man. That's an honorable thing to do. You should spend time with your family.
But Joaquin, he is like that. Like I think that, and it's funny because he's such a like atypical star, you know. That's not someone who would fly in classic Hollywood. But you know, it didn't really come to me until, and because he has this range within what he does, you know. Freddie Quell of The Master is quite different than his character in Two Lovers, although the performance style is pretty similar, you know. And I was watching Eddington with my dad the other day.
Oh, nice.
He's like, I like Joaquin, even though he plays the same character in every movie. And I was like, what? And then I thought about it, and I was like, okay, it's not the same character, but it is pretty similar performance-wise. Like,
Yeah.
And I don't think that's a knock on his range or anything. I think that he has a next-level old-school movie star charisma that allows anything to just revolve around him. You know,
Yeah.
And that's why, you know, putting him side by side with Philip Seymour Hoffman in The Master is like the best movie ever.
Yeah. Two greats dueling it out.
Yeah.
And, you know, I feel like with Joaquin, I feel like he's always very good at like kind of showing the emotional interiority of characters, which I feel like, I guess a lot of actors are usually trying to do that, but I feel like it's so felt in his roles, and, you know, kind of just the ignorance of this character is really felt, you know, in its performance. And he's one of my favorites too, and it's a real good performance here.
Matt Dillon is underused in the movie, but you kind of know from the beginning because he's the dead guy. And it's all leading to his death, and he even gets the "and Matt Dillon" credit at the end of the cast list in the opening credits. But his charisma is as good as it ever is here, really. Like, it's so perfect for this role, where it's like an inversion on an old formula, you know. This kind of movie often would be the other genders, you know. And you know, with the perfect little wife of the evil man, and he's able to play the perfect little husband, even though he's, you know, getting a beer belly and isn't exactly like super ambitious, you know. But I feel like Gus Van Sant still allows him to be a real human, even if he's like kind of a punching bag bozo at certain points, you know.
Well, yeah, I think you know, because it's not like he's used all that much, but I feel like, you know, he obviously doesn't deserve to die for his actions in the context of the movie. But, you know, you do, like, there's like that moment, you know, that's pretty interesting, where he's kind of like urging Nicole Kidman to, like, you know, maybe, you know, this weather woman business, you know, it's not going to really grow into anything. So, and, you know, maybe you should put that aside. And, you know, Gus Van Sant gives us the iris, you know, her tunnel vision, so to speak, on, you know, how locked in she is with her goals. You know, she even sees Matt Dillon in that tunnel vision. And, you know, it is like, yeah, it's complex, where it's like, you know, maybe he's like a little, you know, maybe he could be a little bit more supportive, but obviously the Nicole Kidman character is maybe a little too obsessed with this, you know, television fame goal. So like you said, it allows for, you know, real humanity to shine through. He's not perfect, you know. He could have been a little more supportive, but
I mean, it's funny because I think it gives you like a good inroad where he's like kind of the first sap from like a young age to like kind of buy into her whole shtick. And I feel like it's like watching, like, you need that character, like, kind of the evolution of, like, okay, well, how do you become, like, rich and fame, like, or not even rich, because I don't think, like, obviously she marries Dylan for, like, money, and kind of to use that as, like, a starting point to, like, break into TV or whatever. But I think it's, like, a good inroad of where it's like, okay, kind of loaded, useful sap, when, like, money alone is not going to get you that sweet, sweet fame. Like, next best thing in America, true crime. That's how you can make yourself a true fire star.
And, of course, that is punctuated by the revelation of the murder going down, and the cops showing up and the press showing up, and it's like Star Spangled Banner rises up as in the soundtrack as Nicole Kidman faces the lights, and the cop lights are, you know, as they are, red, white, and blue lights, you know, and it's like, this is what America is the media and true crime, and it's just way too on the nose, but whatever. It's just like, you're allowed to be obvious once in a while. I just got a little annoyed by that because of, like, the amount that it said
Yeah.
explicitly that this is America. Like, okay, childish Gambino, you know. But one thing I did want to say though, that's fucking hilarious. The funniest part of this movie to me is Casey Affleck's fee for murder is $1,000 and some CDs.
No, the Casey Affleck character, you know, he's greatly used. I love when you know, Nicole Kidman's doing like this youth outreach thing where she's going into these high schools, and it's pretty funny in itself, where she's like, you got to get on TV. We got to get more people to get on TV. Like, kind of that's how her outreach, you know, but I guess getting kids into media, that's a real thing. Yeah. And you know, Affleck's kind of, you know, he's the class clown, you know, kind of muttering jokes under his breath, and you know, I have something, you know, I have something I extend for her or whatever, I think is one of the things he says, you know, in dedication to our podcast, I'd imagine. But yeah, like he's so good in that as like the third wheel of, you know, this teen trio. You know, he doesn't, like, the other two are kind of like seemingly like obsessed with her, and like he's just kind of like, whatever.
Yeah, like he is clearly like, he's horny for her, but
Yeah.
he's like, I mean, yeah, she's just a hot lady. Like,
Yeah,
he
yeah.
gets it. She's just like some hot rich lady that we could take advantage of, you know.
And like I mentioned before, like these school scenes, I love Buck Henry, you know, who wrote this movie, wrote The Graduate too, and other stuff. Co-wrote What's Up, Doc. I kind of, but I yeah, just looking at his filmography, you know, he was also an actor as well. I was like, oh, this guy's really accomplished. He's been involved in some great stuff, and just like, it's kind of a, you know, an unexplored aspect besides, I guess, that one scene where the teacher's beating Affleck, but just like the iron fist in which he rules this classroom. You know, they're like, all the kids are kind of like teasing Nicole Kidman, you know, kind of giving her guff, and then once he walks in, the entire classroom is just dead silent, and it's like, damn, he's really beating the fuck out of these kids, I guess, or something. Like, you know, I'm not so good with names usually, right? But I watched a short clip of a podcast. Gus Van Sant was on Club Random.
I saw
recently.
this. Yes.
Did you see the To Die For clip?
No.
It was, you know, I got a little let down by the clip, because like the clip is like, Gus Van Sant invented TikTok with To Die For or what, and it's just
What?
like, yeah, which I was like, how did he do that? And it's, Bill's just kind of talking about, you know, how this message of someone who's hungry for fame, you know, hits even harder in like the influencer era, and that he should, you know, bring it back, you know, do one for
Make another To Die For.
yeah, to die for again, you know, but in the TikTok era.
Do you think Bill Maher like knows that Gus Van Sant's gay?
I would say probably, maybe just because if he never made that Milk movie, he
Oh
wouldn't.
yeah, true.
If that wasn't a factor, I would say so, you know. But he, you know, it's interesting.
Because I'm sure Gus Van Sant, like, that was like an Oscar movie, Milk.
Yeah.
So like, I'm sure that came up in interviews and stuff a lot. You know?
Yeah, that's why. But you know, Bill is just not so. He's not the biggest cinephile. So when he does praise a movie, like, you know, he did say this is one of his favorite movies, actually.
Really?
Yeah. You know
what? I feel less bad about giving it a bad score now.
But yeah, he meant, you know, he did educate me in that clip and talked about Buck Henry.
Yeah.
So that's why his name is on the tip of my tongue with this recording.
Wow. One thing, speaking of also too far, but also proto something else, much like this movie is proto TikTok, according to Bill fucking
It invented
Maher.
TikTok.
Yeah. There is a proto Eastbound and Down scene at the funeral of Matt Dillon.
Oh, yeah.
When Nicole Kidman fucking puts on the boombox and is blasting All By Myself, like holding the boombox, and everyone's looking around like, what the fuck is this lady doing? You know? That was a funny scene. I did like that. That was one of the like detached, ironic, cynical things that I did actually think really hit, because that's where you do it, is when she's like on her victory lap at the funeral. You know?
Yeah. I feel like I've seen like other, you know, maybe it's something that was even done before, but I feel like I've seen that countless times since,
Yeah.
like playing the inappropriate song at the funeral.
Just playing a song.
Yeah,
at a funeral.
just playing
What
a
is
song,
That? Bringing
the
a boombox.
boombox,
Like,
the boombox.
I know that, you know, you get the guys with the bagpipes. Do 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 do. Like that happens in movie funerals, sure. No funeral I've ever been to, but I've also never been to a funeral where someone's like, and now we listened to his favorite song.
Not to funeral check here, because this is a sensitive topic, but I've never been to a funeral that's like outside, like all these movie funerals are. I'm always, in a church. It's I've never had and
so you don't visit the grave after at these funerals. You just do the church ceremony.
Well, I think they're different. There's like the viewing is where you go and see them like in the casket at like the the funeral home, and then they do the burial after. It's like two separate events.
That's funny. Every funeral I've done has been a 2-for-1 special. You do the remembrances at the church or in the little thing or whatever, or at the temple. Yeah. I've done church and temple. And then the pallbearers carry that fucking casket to the grave and dump it in there, and then bury it with dirt and go back home and watch basketball. I mean, go back home and say "I love you" to your parents.
No, just thinking of the examples. I think these people, they decided to be cremated, so I don't know if that's an aspect, or maybe it's a Catholic thing.
You are right that like you never see the first part of the funeral. It's always just the casket getting lowered into the earth. Like every funeral scene is at a graveyard. It's never inside a mausoleum or something like that.
They're glamorizing these funerals on television. But you mentioning that, I do like the needle drops we kind of get here. Like, I love that scene where she's Nicole Kidman and Joaquin Phoenix. She's kind of planting the seeds to talk about murdering the Matt Dillon, husband character, and then Sweet Home Alabama comes on, and she starts dancing to Sweet Home Alabama in front of the
amazing.
The car.
Yeah, that moment, like weirdly enough, reminded me of the erotic car dancing in The Fabelmans.
True.
When Mitzi is fucking prancing around the car like some
both movies about the dangers of sleeping with BPD women. But
Mitzi Fabelman didn't have BPD. She was just a bitch.
Don't bring. That's a sore subject on this pod. Don't bring up Mitzi Fabelman.
Mitzi, that fucking battle axe.
All bets are off when it comes to Mitzi Fabelman.
Mitzi Fabelman activates like 1930s level misogyny in me. We cannot talk about that fucking movie.
That was sick. She was twerking in The Fabelmans though. That was pretty cool.
Steven Spielberg caught his mom twerking on the Grinch. And that's why he makes these weird fucking movies. God, what a fucking embarrassing movie. I hate it so fucking much. Yeah, just go to therapy, you fucking cut. I will say, as a Columbia owned by Sony corporation product, this movie has more Sony audio and video equipment as props and set design than anything else I've ever seen, which is like something I started noticing when I started doing some work for Sony props like years ago. I was like, oh, all of the electronics here are Sony. Like, they're not fake electronics, they're actual Sony electronics, so they can get product placement in every Columbia TV show and movie, because Columbia is a Sony corporation now. Breaking Bad was the previous record holder. Breaking Bad has a lot of Sony shit. Oh yeah, dude. Watch Breaking Bad.
But
again.
there's like
every
less
single electronic piece, every single thing in the house, every TV, every home phone, every gadget and gizmo is by Sony with a label on it.
Which it's funny because in this movie, it being like media critique, the Nicole Kidman, she works for the news, she's a weather woman. There's a natural opportunity for all this equipment to show up. But
this local station is decked out with all Sony gear.
Does the big sound system Jesse get in Breaking Bad, is that a Sony
Yes, it is.
special? Okay, that's sick.
Well, actually, you know what? That feels like a custom build. That is a ridiculous prop. I think they made that for the show because, like, that's just a stupid Jesse prop. Like, it's also like $5,000 worth of labor for prop builders, so good for them. But that's just a stupid Jesse prop. I think all the real stuff is all Sony branded, though. Like, their home phone being Sony branded is crazy.
Yeah. Does Sony make phone? I didn't know.
That's what I thought.
Yeah.
Well, they made the Sony Ericsson flip phone, and I think Walt might be talking on that.
Oh.
That might be the burner of choice, is the Sony Ericsson.
Not to talk so much Sony, but
I'm a Sony loyalist. Look at that, and look at that.
This podcast is sponsored by Sony.
I'm pointing at my audio equipment, everybody. And my video games and my Blu-ray player. I am something of a Sony loyalist. You know, they are my favorite Japanese electronic brand.
What's your favorite Korean electronics brand?
Oh, that's a tough one. You're gonna have to get back to me on that one. Sorry.
No, it's good. I was watching the short form content of how they didn't let the kids play PlayStation in Superbad because, the Jonah Hill character, he's saying too much dirty stuff, I guess. But it's Nicole Kidman literally killed someone in this movie, and she's allowed to have Sony products.
That's interesting.
Make it make sense, Sony.
I mean, Walter White is allowed to have Sony
Yeah,
products.
exactly, yeah.
Fucking Saul Goodman's allowed to have
Yeah.
Sony products. Come on, these are criminals.
So as much as we love Sony, I wanted to call them out on that. Yeah.
I do think it's like one of the more slick product placement things in the business these days, and it doesn't really piss me off, to be honest. It should, but it doesn't.
Yeah, I don't know. Product placement is just one of those things that has never, unless there are some like insanely egregious ones. I feel like people always point to like the Sandler movies as like the height of like product placement in that regard. But it's just like, I don't know. I see these products all the time in my day-to-day life. It's not a problem.
I mean, the money shot of Chris Rock in Grown Ups 2 pouring multiple 2 liters of Pepsi into a big container at once is one of the great product placements in history. That is like,
I mean, the
great
Kmart
image.
scene and
The Kmart scene.
I mean, the Grown Ups movies are kind of like about product placement in
They
a way,
really
and
are.
how much they're a part of our lives. And thinking of a movie I saw this year that I was a little mixed on, but I did enjoy a little bit. After the Hunt, there's some great Julia Roberts eating like the Kit Kat bar and stuff like that. I feel like when I get mad at product placement in a movie, and maybe this is a big part of our, being part of the Sandler defense squad, is that we got to ride for product placement. But I get mad like you see in the superhero movies, and like they roll up in like a Jeep wagon. You get like the car commercial shot of the Jeep rolling up. Like I do like. People eat Kit Kats and drink Pepsi. They just do. So I'm not. I'm not so mad
That's
at that.
absolutely why it doesn't piss me off, because probably when I'm watching the movie, I'm sipping a cold, refreshing Diet Coke and chewing on a Kit Kat. Well, that's just real life. The car bullshit feels like the more egregiously whatever. Like obviously, it's like there was some corporate handler that decided this iteration of Kit Kat is going in the movie. But the fact it's like it had to be something. And I feel like in those instances when movies try and like sub whatever or like have like a fake product, that's more distracting than it's just like just put a refreshing Bud Light on screen for me.
Yeah, like, and if you can't get the rights, there's obviously the fake one. Like, that's why, like, so much TV stuff, if you watch it, there's, like, especially 4K and HD in general remasters of, like, 80s sitcoms and 90s sitcoms especially. There's, like, really bad Greeking done by the art department sometimes, so it'll be, like, and Greeking is code in art department for covering up labels. So it's, like, a box of Ritz crackers that just has, like, a flat yellow sticker on top of the Ritz.
Yeah.
It's yellow and red branded crackers, the classic look. Or guys holding their beers backwards where you could tell it's a PBR but it doesn't say PBR on it.
It's signaling that it's I think a solution to this problem that we don't even think is a problem, we actually like it, but
sometimes
sometimes, but all these like Kroger brand, Diet Shasta, all these like kind of like knockoff brands of like more popular sodas, those should be public domain for people to use in television
man, you
and
just
film.
pull up at the Aldi and just grab a bunch of like Aldi products to be in your movie. That would be like not necessarily like a funny gimmick to base an entire movie on, but just like a background gag in a larger comedy where there's like just you have all like the Kroger basics or just the Aldi whatever.
I mean, we did that in EFIS. They had they were hardly shown on screen, but in one scene you can see them. We used sodas from Market Basket, which is a really low rent chain that does not exist in California, I don't think. But we just got a bunch of shitty sodas from Market Basket for the pizza truck that pulls up, and the windows are like filled with soda. And if you know, it's in focus, you could see the branding on it. Who cares? You know,
Yeah,
Market Basket ain't gonna sue.
Well, I mean, for that, it gives it local specific, or is that like?
I
a
think
local
Market
chain?
Basket's mainly. It might be Midwest and East Coast. I've heard people mention it that I'm like, oh, you're not from Boston, so Market Basket must be
Market
larger.
Basket.
Yeah.
They really tried hard to think of a name for that store. Market Basket. That's why I like shopping at places like Ralph's and Vaughn's. You know, there's a real name attached to it that I could trust. You know, there's but yeah, Market Basket. Okay, sure, yeah.
Anyway, I am mixed on this, but I am going to be a gentleman, as I would if I were to ever see Nicole Kidman in real life, and give it 3 bullets. I think it could have gone either way for me. It was definitely a big why aren't I loving this movie, and in that sense it is kind of a disappointment. It was like always the Gus Van Sant movie that I wanted to watch and was like, I'll save this for a rainy day kind of. It's fine. It's a lightly good movie, I think. 3 bullets. What about you, Malcolm?
I'm gonna go 3.5 bullets. I still like a lot of the performances and a lot of the actors we see here. You mentioned Dan Hedaya,
Yeah, our old buddy from Night of the Juggler.
Yeah, and I also just rewatched Blood Simple like 5 days ago, and he has like a huge role in that. Obviously,
he's like the main bad guy.
yeah,
right?
yeah, he's the thwarted husband. So I was kind of thrilled to see him here because I thought he was so good in that movie, and he's good in this one too. You know, he's got the secret. You know, no spoilers. He's got the secret mob connection.
Was the biggest jerk off moment. I literally did like the Michael Keaton jerk off motion when it's debated throughout. It's like, is he in the mob? No, he's not. Is he? No, he's not. And then him calling in a hit at the end with the zoom in on it. I was like, come on.
With the guy who was like, you know, kind of, isn't it the same guy where she's having that dinner at the beginning with, or maybe I'm mixing.
No, he just looks like him.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay. Well,
because he's posing as a movie studio mogul.
Okay.
And that guy from the dinner earlier was like a fellow broadcaster.
Okay. Yeah. All right. Yeah. I guess they just look similar, but
same type of hair, and they represent the same thing. Their suits.
True. Yeah, they're just too corporate for me. I couldn't differentiate them. And what we talked about, like, I really do think, you know, when we're kind of in the perspective of the 3 teenagers and, you know, they're kind of 3 very different relationships with the Nicole Kidman character, I find that kind of very interesting. And, you know, I think there's just enough fun, you know, like along the way to kind of cover up with any kind of flaws that I might have, or any kind of time where I feel like, you know, it's laying it on a little too thick. You know, and you know, Nicole Kidman, she's gorgeous in this movie. I have to say it. You know, we
just gotta say
we
it.
have to be honest.
You
here.
are now a sexist pig, but you did have to say it.
Well, I'm doing it in the most gentlemanly way.
I'm more of an Ileana Douglas kind of guy myself. You know?
Oh, okay. Well, that signals something. You're a little more thoughtful. You're a little bit more deep in that sense, I think. Right? Is that what that means?
I don't know.
No. She wears glasses, right?
I don't think she does.
Well, in other movies, she wears glasses.
I'm pretty certain she doesn't.
I've seen her wear glasses before. I'm trying to think. Oh, yeah. You know, this is just an errant comment, but, you know, there's part of that, you know, the format where it's kind of like a true crime documentary, and we have like the Nicole Kidman straight to camera parts where she's kind of like in this all white background. And like, I feel like I had this thought before this movie, and it doesn't even really apply to this movie. It's more me talking about all white backgrounds. Anything that's happening behind an all white background, you can't trust that. That's
theory.
Mostly because I feel like I've seen like these like Instagram short dating shows where they have like people line up with like balloons or whatever, and like when they're disinterested in the person who's talking, they like rudely pop the balloon. You know, it's like a, you know, adding tension to the situation. But I'm just like, I think that sprouted and there's other examples that I can't think of, but anything where there's an all white background, you'll never catch me behind anything with the all white background.
Unless you're getting ready to lie your ass off.
Exactly. Like if you see me on all white background behind me, distrust anything I'm about to say. It's
there
bullshit.
are like some thoughts that you have that are like one of one. The linkage there of like all white backgrounds that like this is beautiful. Like this is the landmark film criticism of you connecting like the Instagram reel like short form content with the white background. Again, like that, like that's you just hit it out of the park, and I am in awe.
Thank you.
Beautiful work.
I started thinking, it's like, why are there no, there's these movie critics, right?
Yeah.
Why are there no short form content critics?
Actually, I think there are.
There probably are.
definitely a thing.
But like, I want it like, in the way that, I feel like people write these
in
articles.
the style of film criticism. Like Malcolm is starting to review like the Instagram reels or the YouTube shorts that he sees in a day.
Like individually.
Exactly, and you have to do it in their form, though. That's the thing.
True.
I was talking to a friend of the podcast, Arsenio, about this a while back, about the difference between film criticism and literary criticism.
Yeah.
Where literary criticism takes the mode of literature, whereas written film criticism is just literary criticism about cinema, and so the only film criticism in a extremely obtuse logical way would be like F for Fake or a number of Godard essay films, or even like Pasolini looking back at fascist cinema and stuff like that, and so I think if you started an Instagram reel series where you're holding the lav mic and going up to strangers to talk to them about videos where people are going up to strangers, I think you would find your niche and be the #1 short form content critic.
I like that. See, this is why you got to brainstorm with people, because I like that additional layer of me being on the street and showing it and like we could both review it together.
Yeah, like, have you ever seen this guy? What do you think about this?
Yeah.
It's just you and another guy on the street watching one of those videos.
It's all just building stuff to have. Like Malcolm has the breakout personality.
Obviously,
we know that. It's just getting the right vehicle for him.
True.
And like it's just like one of those things where like if you go through with this, I'd say like by the end of the year, it's going to be a thing where like I'm scrolling on Instagram and it's just like, oh, okay, like another like Subway. Like I've seen you as much as I've seen the Subway takes guy, and I'm like rolling my eyes. I'm like, oh, great, another Malcolm in the middle. Like, who's he have on this one? Like it's what like
true.
I've seen a million of these without even asking for it. I think we could get you to that level.
Malcolm's got the Subway takes guy with him on the street, showing him the video of like Michael Shannon on Subway takes, being like,
"Oh my god!"
So
damn.
I don't love your report here, just going like Gruden quarterback camp mode.
Yeah, review the tape. Oh my. Because it's such a dominant form of entertainment now. It's someone's got to be critiquing this stuff. Right?
Absolutely.
So,
I think we got to think about this a little more.
I think we're rebranding the podcast into something else now.
Malcolm's breakout Instagram criticism aside, any final thoughts on To Die For and a rating?
Yeah, I'm gonna go 3.5 bullets. I really liked it. Again, it just didn't like all like fall to like fit. It didn't fit together like neatly enough. I think like there are just some discrepancies. Maybe in part like with the Kidman character that I think like add to the tonal like issues. Because I would agree with the two of you are saying the section with her shepherding these 3 kids feels like the strongest, and I think they're like. I don't know, throughout the movie, it kind of goes like a back and forth of like her being like dumber than a bag of rocks kind of level idiot. Like with how like much she's like pitching to Wayne Knight to like make her a star. But then with the kids section, she seems like very like an intense, clear-thoughted like kind of schemer there. Like it feels like more thought out. I mean, again, there's like tension to be had there where it's just like certainly she like is a victim of her own like thinking she has it all under control or whatever. But I don't know. Sometimes, especially like with the earlier half of the film, like it's harder for that to like fit together with me because I don't necessarily like buy the more calculated or like the more calculated parts that I think are the strongest just don't click with some of the more goofy stuff for me. But that being said, again, it's like a very fun, great performances. There's a lot to like here. It's just like it doesn't work as much as I would want it to.
Yeah.
Well, one more thing before we wrap up this segment. I do want to mention I was dying at the scene where they're like interviewing Joaquin after the murder took place. It's like you had sex with her? How many times? And he's like, I can't keep count. He's like, where?
He's just listing off all the places they fucked. And just like Joaquin's smile as he's remembering all of them.
It's like,
great.
is that correct police procedure? You know,
Yeah,
I don't
like
know.
just having to know that. Yeah. I mean, that could be part of the comedy, is that cops are perverts.
No, yeah, they kind of. I feel like they get moments where they're like looking. The two cop characters are kind of sprinkled throughout. They're like looking at the TV. They're like, interesting.
Also, I should say, Ileana Douglas basically ice skating over Nicole Kidman's dead body at the end. I found that a bit too far. It's like, if you want me to have any human feelings about any of this, then that's too tasteless,
Yeah.
And I get that it's more of a cultural critique than a movie about people, but when you kind of tease me in with the younger characters, like that being the final note left a sour taste in my mouth. Maybe, or that's the second. No, that is the last.
Well,
note.
no, the last note.
No, the kid gets the 16:16 split screen, and then it cuts to Ileana Douglas ice skating on her grave. Yeah. Because that's where the closing credits crawl.
True. I did like that she was a skater, though. I like that.
I like that too.
Yeah.
I like that she's an ice skater and she didn't have to go to a second location. Ileana Douglas just shows up at the ice rink for one day, gets paid. Good for her.
Yeah.
We'll be right back on extended clip.
In her car.
In her car?
Yeah. One's at school.
Jesus Christ. At school, huh?
Yeah. In the back of the gym. And once late at night at the station where she does her weather reports. And twice at the motel on Piedmont. Oh, in the back of Russell's truck. And the movie theater on the Hayworth. Oh, a couple times at her parents' house when they're away on some vacation or something.
And we're back on extended clip. It is everybody's favorite segment. Malcolm in the middle. Life is unfair.
Mm-hmm.
Malcolm, how fair has your life been lately? Or would you call this segment My Fair Lady instead?
My Fair Lady. No, I think I'd keep my name in it. That was a thinker, though. I had to think on that one. Life, I think, a lot of people might have holidays fatigue, especially, this episode is not coming out the day we're recording. So it is,
closer to mid-January.
Yeah. But, you can't, if there's a new year, you can't say life is unfair. We're at 0. Everything got reset to 0. So, it's not fair. It's not unfair. It's the beginning of something. But, I watched Four Brothers. You ever seen this movie, Eddie?
Four Brothers. Now, is that the silent film?
No.
Oh, I was thinking of Four Sons.
Yeah, Four
by
Sons.
John Ford. This is the remake starring Mark Wahlberg, is it not?
Is it a remake of that?
Not,
I don't
no.
think it is.
This is the TNT classic
Yes.
Four Brothers. Yes.
Directed by John Singleton.
Yes. A director of a number of cable classics.
Yeah, and a great director of Tyrese Gibson, who's also in this movie. We got Four Brothers, right? The plot is we have 4 adopted brothers who share a foster mom in the setting of, mid-2000s Detroit. And, it is 2 white guys, 2 black guys. We got Mark Wahlberg, Garrett Hedlund, kind of a throwback there. Andre 3000 and Tyrese Gibson.
And we had already discussed Tyrese's work with John Singleton once on our episode about Baby Boy.
Yes.
One of the great films.
And, I had a really good time with this one. I feel like when I was just checking my friends' ratings, they're a little on the lower side. And I think, maybe I feel like I could see people kind of having critiques of the script. It's not the most well thought out or, it's not a great script, I would say. But, just having, this in a post 8 Mile world, having Mark Wahlberg and, all these guys kind of team up in Detroit to kind of find their mother's killer. I mean, that's kind of like the big critique of this movie is that, like, you know, they share a foster mom who gets shot in like a liquor store, and then it somehow goes into like a bigger conspiracy. And it's just kind of funny that it's just
about
like,
foster moms getting shot.
yeah, or kind of linking back to like a big, you know, the top gangster in Detroit there, which has a great performance by Chiwetel Ejiofor, you know, as this ruthless pimp who like makes his lackeys like eat French fries off the ground. And I think just kind of what elevates this one is just the performances. I think this is like Mark Wahlberg's second best performance, maybe. Wow. He's pretty electric in this as kind of just a bad boy gangster, you know, and you know, kind of with like the cultural melting pot of Detroit, you know, kind of says some things that maybe you think he wouldn't be allowed to say. But, you know, he does it with such gusto that, you know, it just fits within the context of the movie. And there's just a really great, like, local specificity to this one. Like, the like final set piece takes place, like, on a frozen tundra with, you know, some ice fishing antics going on. I just, you know, I feel the bond between these four brothers. And, you know, there's just like, with John Singleton at the helm, there's just a lot more kind of color and more interesting shot choices than maybe you know, an average director of a crime movie would do. And I just thought it was a really good time. And you know, it's a TNT classic for a reason. Yeah. But you know, it is. You know, I guess with kind of people having lower ratings, I thought maybe this would be kind of more of a for-hire project for Singleton, and maybe it was. I don't really know the context, but it is. I really think he leaves his auteurist stamp in it, and you know, I'm a fan of his work, so I thought it was a really satisfying watch.
Yeah, I do have to ask. You said it was Mark Wahlberg's second best performance.
Now this is Boogie Nights is probably one.
Okay,
yeah,
that feels like a given, but there's also some competition, I think.
Yeah, this is interesting. Let's get into it.
Well, because Boogie Nights is the one amazing movie where he is like the movie star, you know, even if it is an ensemble movie. Yeah. Otherwise, it's more that like I like his performance in a bad movie, or he's in a good movie in a small role, like The Departed. You know, The Departed, he's like probably fourth build, but he's fucking great.
Yeah, no, that is
same with I Heart Huckabees.
Haven't seen that one.
Oh, he is so
but
good.
I feel like I would be interested in that one, to be honest. That is like when weighing performances, right? It is because, like, you know, he's like the main in Four Brothers, you know, but in The Departed, it's a much more limited role, but he's amazing in it. You're right. Yeah. So it's kind of it's my second favorite leading role by Mark Wahlberg.
No, I mean, I would probably say that I mean, not Four Brothers, I haven't seen it, but I have seen the clip of him at the basketball game on Twitter many times. Yeah, which is a great scene. So that's that clip itself is already like top 10 Wahlberg for me.
Yeah, and you know, I'm not much of a hockey watcher, but there's a lot of, you know, they all play street hockey. You know, that real up north Detroit flavor added to the movie.
Nice. JT, what about you? Have you been watching anything good lately, or at least noteworthy?
Yes, I have. I've been trying to watch more movies this year. I think because last year being kind of a down year, I don't know. I'm just trying to start off watching more, reading more than I did last year. And so I watched a flick by Jean-Pierre Melville that I've never seen I haven't seen yet. Hadn't seen yet. Jesus Christ. But you're thinking Jean-Pierre Melville, of course. There's crime, macho men, some action, of course. No, I watched Léon Morin, Priest. And I don't know. I had like the Blu-ray. I think I got it in like high school. It was one of those times where like I was like first getting into movies, and anytime like I saw like a Criterion like at a thrift store for like less than like fair market rate for Criterion, I was like, oh, I gotta get this. And like I think I had seen like one other Melville at the time, and I was like, okay. And it sat on my shelf for at least a decade now. Or maybe not. I don't fucking know. I've had it a long time. and it was finally time to watch it. And yeah, no, it was pretty good. It's so much more like female driven than you would anticipate. Jean-Paul Belmondo is this sexy priest who comes to town in like Nazi occupied France, and the Emmanuel Riva character is like, oh man, I'm gonna prank this fucking like ridiculous priest, and I'm gonna go do confession, and I'm gonna get his ass, and like just be like, isn't this fucking bullshit or whatever. And she goes in to confess, and then kind of in the midst of all of this, she is kind of like just overwhelmed by like, okay, like actually like going through with and doing that, and then also like, oh man, the priest is kind of hot, and like the way in which it like all of the movie is like framed, I think there's like this incredibly interesting tension about, I don't know, is Belmondo actually like interested in her? Like, to what extent is he going to go through with this? Is she like genuinely developing faith, and like is she or like is she just trying to like fuck this priest? Yeah, I don't know. There's a lot going on here, and I was surprised that like the Emmanuel Riva character is kind of the focal point. Especially like because all the other like the big Melville movies are mostly about like kind of brooding, quiet men, and like him tackling this. I know Melville was like a huge part of the French Resistance, and a lot of his movies have like the World War II setting, or at the very least are informed by the echoes and shadows of World War II. But this was just like. Like I not to say that I don't think Melville could do something like as thoughtful, but I thought it was going to be like more provocative. I mean, there are some funny parts where it's just like you see like a bunch of other like young beautiful French women start like seeing this priest at like a certain point, because there are just like very few men left in the town. But yeah, I don't know. It was a very interesting like oddity in like Melville's career that also like, I don't know, anything that kind of sticks out a little bit. You have like the World War II stuff that I think like makes it fall in line a little bit more with the rest of his filmography if you're looking at it from that auteurist lens that we love. But yeah, I don't know. I think I want to see more of the crime ones. I need to fill out like some of the bigger movies of his, because he's a really fun filmmaker, and this like little wrinkle to his filmography only made me more interested.
Yeah, I've actually only seen a couple Melvilles, and that is not one of them. So that's definitely something I got to get on.
I'm in the same boat, but I always knew about this movie, and yeah, I'm kind of surprised that that's what it's about, JT. I always, since I saw I think every priest movie is going to be like Diary of a Country Priest.
I was thinking the same thing.
Like,
exactly, yeah.
Like a priest who's suffering for some reason, or crisis of faith. But I mean, this is, in terms of priest questions too. You think of these priests; they're supposed to stay chaste their whole life. You got to be. Some of these priests must have gotten pretty close to doing something, let alone, well, I mean, I guess there's the obvious crimes of the church. But
I was not even.
Oh, okay, I thought that's what you were about to bring up.
I thought you were just thinking there's obviously guys who did fuck.
Yeah.
But no, there's also that too.
Yeah, I'm more thinking about those guys. Having.
You're more of thinking about Spotlight more than Father Antantolo from The Sopranos.
Yeah. So. Yeah, that's interesting. That's interesting. I got to check that out.
I've been watching my ass off. Just watching since the new year. Reading, writing, watching. Watching my ass off? Yes, I am wamoing. Because I just want to start the new year with a head full of steam, just like JT, And by the way, JT, you are not allowed to beat yourself up for having a down year numbers wise when you made a feature film. Like that is making a feature film counts for 500 Letterboxd logs.
Obviously there's a reason there, but it's just something that it's something I remember as a big part of last year that because I wasn't watching as much, it was a lot of rewatches because I wanted to be like, okay, well, here's my chance to get in a movie. I want to make sure it's a good one.
Yeah. So as I said, it's the 5th day of the year. I've already watched like 8 movies. The first one I watched, though, of the year, early on New Year's Day, Malcolm talked about 4 brothers. I'm going to talk about 2 lovers.
Oh, okay.
2 Lovers by James Gray, 2008, a few years after 4 Brothers.
Yeah, around that time.
Yeah.
2008? I think that's the same year.
Oh,
even.
wow.
Yeah, wow.
And I would say that's where the connections start and stop, but they do share a linkage in Mark Wahlberg and James Gray with We Own the Night, starring Joaquin and Wahlberg together, and of course Gray's feature before that, The Yards, having Wahlberg in such a big role. Gray really knows how to get a lot out of Mark Wahlberg. That's we didn't mention The Yards or We Own the Night. He's very good in both of those.
Yeah, We Own the Night is up there. It's probably number 3.
You can listen to our episode on it. Yeah.
That's 3. That's 3.
But 2 Lovers, man. I mean, fucking, what is there to say about this movie? It's a down bad classic. There was surely nothing to relate to in this movie about a depressed Jewish cinephile photographer reeling from a broken engagement who moves in with his parents and acts like a fucking idiot. But beyond that, like, Gray's style is so fascinating to me because he's like a mix of a classicist and a new wave guy. Like, he clearly takes a lot of influence from the story structure of classic Hollywood, as well as the scope compositions of its later age, as well as the scope compositions of 70s new Hollywood, and I really think he uses those anamorphic lenses as good as almost anybody. Like, I really adore the way that this movie's shot. There's so many incredible instances of staging and blocking that could have been done so different under a less skilled director. But for example, the rooftop scenes between Joaquin and Gwyneth Paltrow are just masterful. That really feels like you're in the hands of a god-tier director. Some really good performances on the outskirts of things, supporting performances. But for the most part, I like how just like small scale this is. It's a very intimate movie. It really is just one of those following a sad guy fuck things up movies. And the kind of bittersweet ending is like so not confusing, but thought-provoking. I don't know. I really didn't know how to feel about the ending, but in a good way, in a good productive way. And it didn't make me feel any happier about my life, but that's okay. I don't need movies to do that. I can just wallow along with them sometimes. But yeah, I mean, James Gray is one of the great contemporary filmmakers, and also, speaking of Joaquin performances, his dancing in one scene in 2 Lovers is even better than it was in To Die For, where he was getting down and boogieing pretty hard. But there's a scene in this where Gwyneth Paltrow takes him out to the club, and he's like freestyle rapping in the cab all the way over there, and then he gets in the club, and it's clearly he has not been dancing in ages or ever, or been partying whatsoever, so first he embarrasses himself freestyling in the car, and then it's like a classic like 70s style disco club, despite the fact that it's lit like a very 2000s nightclub, where it's like long tracking shots showing everyone showing off their moves, very Boogie Nights influenced, honestly, where there's like a circle of people and everyone's coming and doing their stuff and then going back out, and then Joaquin goes in and is break dancing, like straight getting on the floor, spinning around, doing all that shit, and I was dying laughing at it. It is one of the funniest things ever. And then you take a step back, right? James Gray, one of the most open filmmakers, one of the most generous commentary givers. So I look up that clip and he starts talking about it. And he said that I guess either him and Joaquin together or just Joaquin saw Harmony Korine dancing like that at a TIFF after party with supermodels hanging off his arms when he was like 20, and we're just like, I need to put that in a movie, So that is the Harmony Korine James Gray connection right there.
I have 2 thoughts on that. Well, first of all, it's a sign of what's to come with his
most infamous scene. The dancing on the Joker steps.
No, well I'm talking the fake documentary, the mockumentary where he starts a rap career, enlists the help of none other than P. Diddy to jumpstart his rap career.
I thought you were going to drop the Casey Affleck name there because he's been brought up so much on this podcast. But yeah, Diddy is involved.
I'm not there. And then this is salacious stuff. This is the rumor mill here. But there's a rumor that Harmony Korine is addicted to tap dancing. Currently, he's getting really into tap dancing. So
I think that's been confirmed.
It's confirmed. Okay,
I think it was in one of the profiles on him on Baby Invasion, which I thought was fucking horrible.
Yeah.
But like, I love Harmony Korine. I just don't like his current work.
Yeah.
But I still think he's a smart guy. He just is missing.
He's in another world.
He's in another world right now. Maybe I'll catch up someday.
But yeah, it is. So it sounds like he's a dancing man through and through.
I mean, you remember the tap dancing in Trash Help?
Yeah, of course. Yeah,
it's fucking awesome.
There's tap dancing in Gummo too, right? Maybe not him.
Some sort of dancing in Gummo. Yeah, some sort of highly choreographed thing. Yeah. That's going to do it on this week's extended clip. Thank you for tuning in. You can always get an extra episode every week for $5 a month over on Patreon. Our last episode was about Duck Soup, the Marx Brothers classic. The next Patreon episode is going to be continuing the Matt Dillon series with the movie that made me convinced he is a god-level actor and probably my favorite film of the 1990s. There's Something About Mary.
Wow, that's a big one.
That's going to be a big one. We've been talking about that movie on this podcast for like 6 years now, and we did like a mini segment on it once within a series. Yeah, because we did a Fairly series where like, and it's deleted. You can't find it because we're smarter now. That's why. We did a series and like, we stuck Something About Mary into an episode where we talked also about 2 or 3 other movies, so we're going to give it its flowers. Expect a long episode.
Expect a glaze fest.
Oh yeah, that is going to be an absolute glazing. I'm going to be like referencing bonus features from the DVD like And while you're at it, go ahead and subscribe to my blog, vintageviolence.substack.com. Getting a lot busier this year. Huge thing about to get announced. Goodbye, everybody.